Well, hello everyone. Matt over at SFREP. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. Sorry if I blew your speakers out there for a second. Matt Johnson over at SFREP. Glad you could join us this evening. We're going to be talking about the new UAD 3.6. And I want to just, take a second to thank all of you who showed up. I know that, it's 8 o'clock in the evening on the East Coast where I am in Charlotte, and what is it, 5 on the West Coast? So thanks for taking a little bit of time out of your Thursday evening to be with us. We really appreciate it. We're going to be talking about UAD 3.6. We're going to kind of do a 30,000 foot view of it, kind of give you a background on what's going on with it. This will not be a giant ad for our software. We do make Appraise-It Pro. However, we do want this to be for all appraisers out there. Hopefully you're going to get a lot from this webinar. We will, show our software off at the end. So if you want to stick around for that, we'll be showing you the way that we're implementing the new UAD dynamic report, and kind of go over, and we'll show you, it live in our software, because we actually have it done enough for us to be able to show it off. It's still, of course, in development, but it's fast approaching. September is fast approaching. So we'll go over all those dates and everything here in just a couple of minutes. But also with me is, now I'm Matt Johnson. I'm the communications director for SFREP in Charlotte, North Carolina. And over in the mountains of Western North Carolina in Silva is Remington Jones. He's our chief executive officer. How you doing, Remington?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing well.
Remington
is, say that again?
Glad to be here.
Oh, well, I'm glad you're here too, because we will probably get some pretty complex questions, and Remington is great at answering the complex questions. I'm the talker. He knows all the stuff. So we will go ahead and we'll get started. One thing I do want everyone to know, though, this is going to be some really riveting stuff we're going to be talking about. If you need to go get a drink or anything like that, you can pause the video and then pick it back up and watch it kind of in a delayed fashion. This video will also be automatically archived on our YouTube page, which is youtube.com/SFREP. If you click on live, you'll be able to watch this whenever you want, or you can just use the same link that was sent to you in the email, or if you saw it on Facebook, wherever you saw it, you'll be able to rewatch this, share it, send it to somebody else who maybe wasn't able to attend. All right. So we'll go ahead and we'll get started. As I said, Matthew Johnson, Communications Director for SFREP. I've been with the company. I'm in my 19th year now. Remington, I believe you're in your 16th year with the company. This is a great company to work for. We really pride ourselves on our customer service, and they treat us really well. Most of our employees have been here for a very long time, very little turnover, and we just love the company and love what we do. So a little bit about us before we get started. SFREP was founded in 1983. A lot of people don't know we are not new to this scene. We were founded in Baton Rouge, Louisiana back in 1983, and we pioneered DOS-based real estate appraisal software. And then in the early 90s, one of our co-founders relocated to the mountains of Western North Carolina, brought the company's technical operations with him. And so we are kind of we're technically a Louisiana company, but boy, I would say most of our operations are in both the upstate of South Carolina in the Greenville area, and in North Carolina, in the mountains of Western North Carolina. Of course, we all work from home after COVID. So I'm actually in Charlotte. We have some people in Savannah. We have some people up in Maryland, kind of scattered all over, but really concentrated in the mountains of Western North Carolina and in the upstate of South Carolina. Our product that we have, and I'll show it to you at the end, is called Appraise-It Pro. In 2019, just before the COVID-19 pandemic, we launched Appraise-It Pro, and it is a complete overhaul of our flagship product, written from the ground up in the latest development environment from Microsoft. So it's very modern. It's very stable and works really well with Windows. As a matter of fact, one of the cool things about Appraise-It Pro is that it works on any processor. And because of that, because it can work on ARM-based processors, that's the same thing as those M-class processors in the Macs. So our software will actually run in parallels on a Mac, and it runs what's called bare metal. It runs right on the processor. So you get amazing performance when you're running it on Mac OS. And our tech support fully supports running the software on a Mac. And of course, throughout this presentation, we will be using Appraise-It Pro here and there to demonstrate the new UAD experience. But once again, I don't want this to be a big advertisement for our software. All right, so let's start with a little bit of background. In 2018, the Federal Housing Finance Agency directed Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac to revisit both the Uniform Appraisal Dataset and the forms appraisers used to complete their reports. The GSEs interviewed dozens of industry stakeholders, including lenders, vendors, appraisers, AMCs, trade groups, and government agencies to better understand the greater appraisal ecosystem's needs and pain points. So armed with that feedback, on top of the feedback they had been receiving since the implementation of the first UAD effort in 2011, the GSE set out to design an updated appraisal dataset that could handle all relevant property types and cover data points that were missing from the initial implementation, as well as a completely new data-driven dynamic report that adapts itself to each appraisal. During their work over the following years, they maintained a relationship with industry stakeholders and to get ongoing feedback from key parties as the project evolved. The end result is an attempt to create a near universal mortgage appraisal reporting framework that is flexible enough to handle any property and also future-proofed, so new data points can be added easily and old data points can be removed if they're no longer needed. And that's going to be a big thing. You're not stuck with the same form for a very long time. The form is completely changeable if need be. So let's talk about timeline. This is the one thing that everybody is interested in and asks about constantly. The GSEs have laid out 4 important dates for the UAD 3.6 adoption. The first is September 8th, 2025. So jot that down, mark it on your calendars. This will mark the beginning of the limited production period. So during limited production, lenders who have been vetted by the GSEs as being ready to work with the UAD 3.6 will be able to submit UAD 3.6 orders to the Uniform Collateral Data Portal, which we know and love as the UCDP. The second is January 26, 2026. This marks the beginning of the broad production period. During broad production, all lenders may submit UAD 3.6 orders to the UCDP. This, between September and January, you can think of it as this is going to be kind of a ramp-up period. So in September, you might not get very many UAD 3.6 reports, but you can expect that there will be more issued as we start going along. So you may not hear anything through the fall of 2025, but you'll start hearing from your lenders and saying, hey, are you UAD 3.6 available as we start, getting into 2026. So the third date is November 2nd, 2026, which is the mandate date. And at this point, all lenders must use UAD 3.6 for all submissions. That's going to be the key date. Now, there is a fourth date, and this is the final date. It's May 3rd, 2027, which that is the UAD 2.6 retirement date. Even after the mandate date in November of 2026, existing UAD 2.6 orders will still be in the pipeline and may require revisions. By May of 2027, the pipeline should be clear of UAD 2.6 orders, and the old format will officially be retired. This timeline means that between September 8th of this year and November 2nd of next year, new UAD 2.6 and UAD 3.6 orders will exist side by side. Any given appraisal order may be for either format, so appraisers will need to be ready to complete reports in either format. UAD 3.6 orders will likely be rare early on, like I said, and then ramp up through 2026 as more lenders get updated and up to speed. Note that this timeline applies, this is very important, note that this timeline applies to Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, While FHA, VA, and USDA all intend to adopt UAD 3.6, in fact, the GSEs worked with them while developing the UAD 3.6 to ensure that their needs were going to be addressed. They have not yet committed to an adoption timeline of their own. So let's look at the new MISMO XML. So at the core of UAD 3.6 is the move from MISMO 2.6 to MISMO version 3.6, the latest version of the Mortgage Industry Standards Maintenance Organization's Reference Model, or MISMO. This expansion to the dataset allows for the digital equivalent of the maxim, a place for everything and everything in its place. I love that saying, and that very much applies here. So with MISMO 2.6, only the fields on the main form of the report and the competent could be conveyed directly in the MISMO XML. All other addenda, and perhaps most importantly, all photos in the report, were only and are only present in the PDF copy of the report that's embedded inside of that MISMO XML. This means that clients often struggle to automate and the review of the data only present in the PDF, leading to constant frustration and back and forth. How many times have you had a report rejected because your client claims it's missing a specific photo or addendum when that photo or addendum is obviously right there in the report? And it just leads to a lot of confusion because there's different data and more data in the PDF than there is in the actual MISMO XML. So with MISMO 3.6, every single field, data point, exhibit, and image within the report has a corresponding home in the XML. A PDF copy of the report will still be included, so humans reviewing the report will have something to read, but client systems will no longer need to rely on the PDF through scraping to obtain data missing from the XML, because all of the data is present in the XML. That scraping of the PDF, that's what caused a lot of problems with the current UAD 2.6 version. Now, related, the GSEs are also making a compliance API, which is a application program interface. So think of an API as a way that programs can talk to each other, or web services can talk to programs and back and forth. So a compliance API will be available to software developers. So when you use your software of choice to write your report and create your MISMO 3.6 XML to deliver it to your client, you'll be able to validate through your software your report against the same rules and checks that are run when it's uploaded to the UCDP portal. And that'll eliminate another source of revision requests. You'll find out about any hard stops or errors yourself, and you won't have to find that out from your client. So, the new URAR. The GSE's new Uniform Residential Appraisal Report, or URAR, is a massive departure from the forms of today. And make no mistake, it's no longer a form at all. And they are very adamant about that. They do not want you to call it a form. It is a report. So instead, it is a dynamic report that alters itself to suit the assignment, with fields and sections appearing and disappearing as needed. Now, of course, that will really depend on how your software vendor is actually going to show it. And here we're actually seeing it, how it's done in Appraise-It Pro. Some software vendors, and we'll go over this a little bit later, but some software vendors are going to be showing the report like we are, kind of in a WYSIWYG format. Others are going to be doing kind of a wizard format, and we'll go over all that here in a little while. So this new URAR replaces all of the numbered GSE forms in use today, including the 1004, the 1073, the 1075, the 2055, the 1004C, the 1025, the 1007, the 2090, and the 2095. And the 1004D is also replaced by two new report types. So there really are three report types. You hear everyone saying there's only going to be one report type. There's technically three. The restricted appraisal update report and the completion report are kind of separate reports, but they're going to kind of operate in the same way. Perhaps the best thing about the new URAR is the elimination of the need for both text and photo addenda. A report whose selections can be dynamically resized to fit their content allows all report content to be presented contextually. In other words, photos, text all appear in the relevant sections of the report, not buried in addenda 20 pages away. A picture of damaged siding appears right next to the description of the damage, and that description can be as long as you need. No more tripping over to extended comments when you run out of room on a cramped static form. The need for supplemental addenda is also eliminated by, again, the idea of a place for everything and everything in its place. If there's a data point about the subject or comparable properties that's relevant to determining an opinion of value, there is a place for that data point in the report itself. And that place is standardized across all assignment types and reports, so your clients will always know where to find it. A cleaner, more readable report is a win for everyone. This is, as someone who has bought and sold a house within the last 3 years, my wife looked at the appraisal report that we got and was like, what the heck is this? I have no idea how to read this. It's full of abbreviations. And I'm like, well, honey, you have to go back into this section right here that has all the abbreviations and it'll explain it all to you. And she was just like, this is ridiculous. Well, now we're going to fix all that. So a new paradigm. There's another way that the new URAR is a massive departure from the forms of today, and it can be a little hard to wrap your head around. With UAD 3.6, the GSEs published a data set and an output report specification, but from their perspective, they don't care what the input looks like. They left all of that up to the appraisal report software vendors. With the old static forms, everybody's software functioned at a basic level identically. You opened a form, you typed into each field, and printed it off or saved it as a PDF for it to be uploaded. The input matched the output exactly because everyone was operating on the same standardized static form that was designed to fit a specific, unchanging piece of paper. And in fact, it wouldn't be a huge stretch to feed a blank 1004 into a typewriter and fill it out, something you could never do with the new dynamic URAR. Since the GSEs mandated an output but not an input, each software vendor approached the question of how to enable their users to accurately write out these new dynamic reports independently based on their technology stack. If you're wondering what a technology stack is, that is what software, what development environment each of the vendors is using. Some of the software companies out there had some kind of dated software, and they were using dated development environments to program their software. Luckily, we are using the latest one from Microsoft, but some of the software vendors are using quite old languages, programming languages, and development environments. So they weren't necessarily able to put the new UAD into their existing software. So some, including us in a la mode, were able to build the dynamic images that let you interact with a representation of the output report directly, emulating the workflow that you're used to of seeing the report as it will be delivered while you write it. This is called WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So you're actually filling out a graphical representation of a printed document. And this is how you guys have been filling these reports out for decades. And we wanted to make sure that you would continue with that same way of doing things. So us in a la mode chose that route. Now some, including ACI and Bradford, built editor interfaces that bear little to no resemblance to the output report. You'll fill out all the needed data and connections, and you will fill out all of the needed data and conclusions, and then the software will generate the report for you. And some, including SFREP, were able to build the support for UAD 3.6 into their existing software. So this is going to be, if you're using Bradford, if you're using ACI, they have decided to go with a web-based version. And we like to call it kind of like a wizard format. And a lot of people have likened it to doing your taxes with TurboTax. You fill a little bit of information out, you click next. You fill some more information out, you click next. So all software vendors have been involved in the UAD 3.6 development process since those initial industry stakeholder discussions and have been hard at work preparing for the launch of the limited production period in September of 2025 since the publication of the UAD 3.6 specification in the spring of 2023. So we only were able to get started with this in the spring of 2023. And in programming terms, that's not a lot of time. So even so, UAD 3.6 represents a massive development project, and the vendors will all be continuing to iterate and improve on their UAD 3.6 support into the next year and beyond. If you haven't already reached out to your current software provider to find out how they're approaching the question of UAD 3.6, now would be a good time to do so. And it's also wouldn't be a bad idea to look at what the other vendors are doing too. You might find that someone else is better aligned with your particular taste and workflow. So a lot of people are really worried about collecting data in the field. You may have seen some numbers thrown around that the new URAR is huge with over 3,000 fields to fill out compared to a mere hundreds of fields on today's 1004, and thus it's going to take much longer to write a new URAR. While that count is technically accurate, it's a little misleading. There are thousands of possible fields, but many of them are optional and or won't have any bearing on a given assignment. If you're assigned a traditional single-family home, none of the condo or manufactured home or multifamily fields will be relevant, so you'll just ignore them. And likely, depending on your software, you won't see them at all. Other new fields are the same data that you were writing out in your commentary fields, just broken out into quick checkboxes and drop-down selections. That being said, there are also some new data points to collect, such as whether or not high-speed internet is available at a property. So let's talk about frequently asked questions. Do I have to use a mobile app in the field? The answer to this is no. I have heard a lot of misinformation out there, some of it from software companies, saying that you have to use a mobile app in the field. Will a mobile app make your life easier when you're collecting data? Sure. And we're going to have a brand new mobile app that we're going to be launching that's going to fully support the new UAD 3.6. But if you want to write out in Word a list of all the things that you need to collect and give you space to write it all out and write your notes on a clipboard or in a notebook, knock yourself out. It's totally doable. Am I going to have to use Scan to Sketch? No. But a la mode has Scan to Sketch. We will also be launching Scan to Sketch in the near future. It certainly will help. And if you don't know what Scan to Sketch is, it is using the LiDAR sensor on the iPad Pros and the iPad Pro and the iPhone Pros. So the Pro and the Pro Max have a LiDAR sensor. And if you don't know what LiDAR is, think of LiDAR as light-based or laser-based radar. So it's firing out lasers, puts a dot pattern on the walls, on the floor, and it's able to know how far away those are from the phone. It's using the gyroscope on the phone to kind of know how the phone's oriented in space. And using all of that data, you can kind of walk around a room, tell it where the corners are, and it'll draw a sketch for you. So not needed, but it will make your life easier. Big question I get a lot. How do I measure the elevation at the front door? It seems like there's a lot of confusion on this one. A lot of people thinking that the GSEs want to know what the altitude, the elevation is of the house. And that's not the case. All they really want to know is how far it is from the ground to the threshold of the door. And you can just do that with the measuring app on your phone. You can use measuring tape, whatever. It's not a big deal. People are asking, will I have to upgrade my computer for the new UAD? Nope, at least not with us. I don't think you would with anybody else either. It's not some magical thing. It's just a evolution of doing the report. And a lot of people are asking, will I need an ultra-fast internet connection? And I think that this is a confusion point from what people are hearing out there. You will not need a fast internet connection to do the new UAD. I think a lot of people are thinking there's a broadband question, which I'm going to go over here in just a second, that I think people are confusing it with. However, if you're using ACI or Bradford, you're going to be using a web-based version of your software. So, of course, having a good fast internet connection will be key in order to use that software in an efficient manner. Uploading your photos, uploading your certain things to the report, but it's not going to be necessary. So let's talk about that confusion on collecting data. And this is going to be your new favorite website for the new UAD. So part of collecting data is broadband access. They want to know if broadband is available at the address. So a lot of people are asking what counts as broadband. And, a lot of people are like, well, the FCC says this and, DSL report says this, and everybody's overthinking it. Broadband is anything that's DSL or faster. So if DSL is available, it's broadband. If Starlink is available, it's broadband. If Viasat traditional satellite is available, it's broadband. Okay. This website right here, broadbandmap.fcc.gov, it is rare that anyone says, man, the government website really got it right. But in this case, they did. I have tried out a couple of different broadband availability websites out there. And I'll be darned if the best one wasn't the one from the FCC. I've used it on a couple of different addresses that I know what is available at those particular addresses, and it's right every time. So this right here is showing the house that I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. At that address, AT&T fiber is available. HughesNet GSO satellite, that is geostationary orbit satellite, is available. Spectrum cable internet's available. Starlink, which is a near Earth satellite service. And if you want to know what that means, if it's in geostationary orbit, you're going to have slower, laggier internet because it's having to go out so far and come back so far. It's like 26,000 miles up versus Starlink, which is like 300 miles up. So you're going to have a lot less laggy of service with Starlink. T-Mobile is available, so T-Mobile 5G internet. And then Viasat, which is also another geostationary orbit satellite service. There are two other ones that are coming online soon. One from Amazon, which is kind of Amazon's version of Starlink. And then Viasat is also going to be doing kind of a version of Starlink. And I think Viasat's a French company, but they're the ones that all the airlines use. So when you're flying and you're using internet, they're using Viasat. A lot of cruise ships use it too. All right, so let's look ahead. The GSEs have published a wealth of information on the new UAD 3.6 in an effort to help everyone get up to speed as quickly as possible, including a full breakdown of the new dataset and multiple samples of the new URAR, showing how it can support single-family, condo, cooperative, manufactured homes, and multifamily in all those use cases. They've also published a free training course on the new URAR. So if you want to jot this down, they're very simple addresses. You can either go to fanniemae.com/UAD or you can go to freddiemac.com/UAD. You don't have to put that SF there or the www, just freddiemac.com/UAD. And they actually have some classes that you can kind of take on your own. And continuing education is going to be very important. A lot of the continuing education providers have their own offerings for UAD 3.6 training. And of course, the software vendors, including us, will be publishing training materials as well, specific to our programs. So in the corner of my eye, have seen a lot of questions being answered by Remington over there. Remington, do we have any that we want to address, verbally before we move on?
Let me skim back through here. And so I do want to restate kind of or reemphasize what you said there about training, because it is kind of an interesting situation where the this kind of goes back to that situation with where the GSEs only care about what the output report looks like. They don't care about what the input report looks like. So I've been attending a lot of classes and seminars and things with appraisers, learning about UAD 3.6. And something I keep seeing happening is an appraiser will raise their hand and ask a representative from Fannie or Freddie, well, okay, but so can I check this box, or how do I use this drop down, or questions about how to interact with the report. And the GSC rep just kind of has to shrug and say, I don't know, it depends on your software. So you're going to get training, you're going to need training from kind of multiple sources. You'll get training from the GSCs and from your continuing education on the report itself, on anything new that's coming along with it. And then you'll get training from your software vendor on how to fill the report out. So your software vendor can't tell you what to put in it. Software vendors aren't appraisers. But if you know what you need to put in it, they can show you, oh, you'd go do that here, and you would check this, or you'd select this drop down, or so on and so forth. So I do just want to kind of point that out. And also because we as software vendors, our tech support will get questions that we can't answer because tech support is not an appraiser and doesn't know what you should put in your report, but they can help you figure out where to put it or how to put it in your report, if
Right.
that makes sense.
Remington and I are not appraisers, but we've been doing this for a long time and probably know more about appraising than we ever thought or wanted to. But
That's
we're
very
not
true.
appraisers.
Um, and yeah, so Jay did ask about that elevation at the front door. Why do we have to be a surveyor? And it is, I did answer in the chat, but I do want to call that out for anybody who's not following along with the chat. There are some new data points in the new URAR. One of them is, as Matt mentioned, you need to be able to say whether or not high-speed internet's available at the property. But another one is, and it does kind of, at first glance, it's like, well, that's a weird thing to ask for. But they want to know how high off the ground the front door is. And when I first saw that, I was thinking it was maybe some sort of like ADA accessibility thing. Like they want to know how will it be
I thought
cheap to
flood.
put,
I
and
thought like
that's what it is.
oh
It's a
okay.
flood
Yeah.
thing. They are trying, obviously if you're in an actual flood zone, you've got that information and you're not worried about it. I mean, you are worried about it, but you're not worried about the risk involved because you have a good idea of the risk based on the floodplain data. What the GSCs are seeing, though, and are worried about is maybe flash flooding outside of flood zones, or things like that, where they don't have good risk data unless that property is already in a flood zone. And so they realized that they they wanted to figure out something that wouldn't be a big onerous thing for an appraiser in the field to measure and figure out and add to the report, but that they could use as a proxy for flood risk outside of floodplains. So especially outside of floodplains, they really want to know, well, if the front door is 1 foot off the ground, there's some risk there. If the front door is 10 feet off the ground, I'm not really worried about it. So that's why they're asking for that.
Right. Yeah, I was just looking at some of the chat in there. Matt B made a really good point. Who I think Matt B's in Florida. In Florida, the houses are on a concrete slab and are very close to the ground, and there's like a concrete slab for the front porch. Homes are built differently in different parts of the country. Here in North Carolina, homes are mostly made of wood. In Florida, they're made of concrete and they're made of cinder blocks. So, but it's what they want. So
They have made the point in the seminars I've attended that people seem to be looking at that and overthinking it. It
yeah,
really is just stand at the front door and measure to the ground, the actual dirt.
there
And if
has been a lot
that's
of overthinking going on, I
and if
think.
that's 2 feet away or 5 feet away, they're not going to get all worked up about, well, it's 2.758 feet. This is an enumerated field where your options are up to 1 foot, 1 to 2 feet, 2 to 3 feet, that sort of thing. They're not looking for it to be real precise. It's just a very, if it turns out that the property's 3 feet 1 inches but you thought it was 2'7" and you put 2 to 3, they're not going to like come after you over that.
Jay was talking about, so they're looking for a reason not to lend on the property.
I don't think
I
that's
don't think that's it.
true. I think they're just, as they put it in these seminars, Fannie and Freddie are in the risk business.
Yeah.
And so they want to have a good picture of the risk they are assuming for any given property if they purchase that mortgage from the originator.
And remember, what I was talking about earlier, the MISMO XML is being built and the UAD 3.6 in itself is being built so that it can be added to and subtracted from. So if they decide that this is data that, I think a good one is going to be that you might see go away in the first few years would be the broadband question, because of the fact that things like Starlink, whatever, I forget what Amazon service is going to be called, all of these low Earth orbit satellite services mean that as long as you've got a decent view of the sky, you can get broadband service almost anywhere. Now, there are places, having lived in Western North Carolina in the mountains, and Remington still lives there, there are little coves and hollers in the mountains where you don't get a good view of the sky, especially if it's a very wooded lot. So it will still apply for something like that. But remember, if they're really kind of beta testing and trying this out throughout 2026. So if they decide that there is a question that doesn't seem to work and it doesn't really matter, they may remove it. So just keep that in mind.
And beyond, they know how frustrating it has been that they tried out UAD originally by inserting these extra data points in the existing like typewriter era forms.
Oh, yeah.
And what a huge pain it's not like they were releasing new versions of those forms every year, because that'd be a massive undertaking. So their hope with the new UAD, with UAD 3.6 and the new URAR, is they won't have to publish a whole new version of the report if they just want to add or remove, a data point here or there.
Yeah, I've told this before, but I remember Wayne, who's the owner of our company, and I were in Washington, D.C. at Freddie Mac headquarters in, I want to say 2009, when they were going over what the new UAD was going to be. It was the first iteration of it. And we all the software vendors, we don't agree on much with each other, but we all agreed that this was a terrible idea and not the way to do it. We wanted to do it the way that it's being done now. And so I'm really, this is a very positive thing. I'm really glad to see that they're going to be doing this for sure.
Yeah. We hope that if you take anything away from this little presentation and overview of UAD 3.6, it's that, yes, change is scary, change is annoying, it's a pain in the butt to have to learn something new, but we really think that this change truly, one, isn't as bad as you think it is, or as bad as you might be worried that it is, and two, once you actually kind of dip your toes in and see how this new report works, we think you might actually like it a lot better than what you're doing now. All those addenda suck. Having to flip back and forth through a report to find the data sucks. All of that goes away. Everything's presented contextually where it belongs within the report. Photos of things appear next to the descriptions of those things, not 20 pages away on an addendum. A lot of the items where in the current URAR you'd have to write a paragraph or two to get your point across, they've given you now just some checkboxes or drop downs, and you just go bip, 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 and you're done, and you move on to the next thing. So we really do think, certainly there will be a learning curve. Certainly it's not like you're going to be able to kick out your first one in 10 minutes. But once you start getting used to it and using it, we really do think you might actually like it. It's very,
going to be
it's very different, but it's pretty cool.
It is. And it's going to be so much easier for the young guns, the new people coming onto the scene. It's going to be so much easier for them to learn how to, fill out an appraisal report than UAD. Because UAD is kind of a mess with all the abbreviations and everything. we know how to read it. I read my appraisal for my wife. I was like, yo, you hear, this is what this means, and this is what this means. But Joe Schmo, who's getting this appraisal report sent to them, they don't understand what any of this stuff means. And this is going to be such a much easier, cleaner report for them to be able to look at for sure.
Yeah.
So one of the things now, here's the point where we're going to kind of show off what we have. So we hope that you'll stick around and take a look at it. We do honestly believe we want you to look at everybody. So if you're an ACI customer, look at what Alamode's doing. Look at what we're doing. Look at what Bradford's doing. If you're a Bradford customer, same thing. Look at what everybody else is doing, because this is going to be the time for you to make the switch, because you've already got to learn something new. You're going to have to basically start doing things differently. So now would be a great time for you to move to a different software provider, because you're making that break. You are having to learn something new. Now, of course, I'm going to tell you, Alamode and us, we are showing the report to you as it is a printed form. And this is the way you've been filling out reports for a very long time. ACI and Bradford have chosen to do that wizard interface. At AXE, the AXE show, which was a couple of months ago in San Antonio. What month was it? Was it
very
April?
Beginning of April?
It was April.
Yeah.
So it was last month. All of the vendors were given a chance to show off what they had. And ACI and us were the only ones that had anything to actually show. Alamode was very upfront and said, hey, look, they're not ready to show you what they have. Bradford did show off some things, but it was more of a slideshow that they did during a presentation. So we want to show you what we have. I'm actually running the version of Appraise-It Pro because we want to have a nice stable version of it. I'm running the same version that I had last month, and you'll see how complete it actually is. And one other thing I do want to mention is that when we are maybe a year or two down the road, where we've fully switched over to the UAD 3.6, one of the great things about that UAD 3.6 XML is that it includes everything in there. There's no more addendums. There's no more photo addendum. Everything is in that it's actually a zip container. So it's a little container that has everything in it. This will make moving from one software vendor to another from this point forward very easy. So just how they made being able to port your phone number when you switch wireless carriers, same thing is now happening with appraisal software. We will be able to get all of your old reports, use that to build new databases for you in the new software, and have you be able to go back to those old reports and reference them if you need to. So it's going to make things so much easier if you do want to switch and try something out new. So this is Appraise-It Pro. When you first start Appraise-It Pro, you're going to be in this area. It's called the backstage. If you've used Microsoft Office, this will look very familiar to you. I always say that the backstage is kind of like a super file menu, because everything that's in a traditional program's file menu is kind of in this area here. When you first start up the program, you're going to be in this welcome screen. And then you can come over here to new, and this is where you're going to start a new report. Now, I'm not going to go over how you use Appraise-It Pro. We have webinars that we do on that, and we have pre-recorded webinars that we do on that. But I just kind of want to give you the highlights here. One of the cool things about Appraise-It Pro is because we rewrote our software right before the pandemic, we were in a position where we could take the new UAD and put it into our existing software. Why is that important? Because from September of this year all the way through November of next year and a little bit beyond, you are going to be doing both UAD 2.6, the current UAD, and UAD 3.6, the new UAD, reports side by side. If you are using ACI or if you're using ACI or Bradford, you're going to have to go switching from one program to another. So their new web-based program, but then when you get a UAD 2.6 order, you're going to have to go back to the old program. You're going to have to remember, oh, I can only do that in this program and whatnot. With Appraise-It Pro, it's all built into the same program. So here are your UAD 2.6 reports. And then here are your new UAD 3.6. Now ignore this right here, the dynamic test form. That's not going to be there, obviously. But you have the completion report, the restricted appraisal update report, and the big one, which is the Uniform Residential Appraisal Report, the URAR. And that's it. There's no condo version of it. There's no manufactured home version. The report will modify itself as you start filling it out, and it will become one of those report types. So what I can do here is, actually what I'll do here is I'm going to open up a test report here. It'll take just a second for it to load up here. And here it is. Actually, you know what I want to do, I think, is let me close this. And let's actually open up a blank one first so you can kind of see how the dynamic aspect of this works. So I'll come over here. I'm just going to double click here and we're going to open up a blank UAD report. So there's nothing in here right now, but we've kind of built in the sections that you're going to need. You don't have to add sections or remove sections because the report is what it is. And it's going to modify itself to be what it needs to be. You don't really need, you can't really move this stuff around. The report is kind of a set format that's going to change as you start answering questions. One of the cool places to see the dynamic nature of the report is going to be in the sales contract. We like to use this to demo it. So there's not much here. It's basically just a little page that says, is there a sales contract? Well, yes, there is. Now, new stuff fills in. All right, so there is a sales contract. So what was the sales contract? What was the sales contract information analyzed? Yes, it was. Was the property, was personal property conveyed? No. Check that. Does this appear to be an arm's length transaction? No. Oh, well then I need to put some information in here about it. So this is just the sentence that I like to use when I show this off. But watch what happens to this field as I type this again a second time. You can see that this field just keeps getting bigger. And so I'm going to just copy this. I'm going to keep putting it in here. This field will just keep getting bigger as I need it to get bigger. So there's no tripping over into extended comments or anything like that. Everything, all these comment fields can just get bigger magically as they need to. When you have contract price, I can come up here and, put, I don't know, $500,000. Contract date, I can type it in, or I can use this little date picker. Let's say the contract date was back, I don't know, we'll just call it the 20th or something. So I can select that. Now it's the 20th, May 20th, 2025. And the transfer terms, that's a pull down menu. You can use these little pull down menus. And if you want, you can actually, use your keyboard here. So you don't even have to use your mouse if you don't want to. You can come down here, sales concession, no sales concession, or if there were, it's going to, fill in here as well. And this is one of the things I love. And our programmers were very proud of this, and I'm very proud of it. Just the way, and I don't know if it conveys well on video. I think it does. But get rid of that. As we check things, so we'll say, okay, here, check, check, check. See how these things just kind of flip in? That's how it's going to kind of be dynamic. You're still filling out a graphical representation of the printed document or the PDF document, but it's going to put things in and take things away just kind of by fading and flipping in as it needs to. So we'll close this out. Whoops. And we'll come over here. And by the way, this is still internal. This is an internal test version, what we call an alpha version. We're going to start beta testing this with customers in the summer. Don't have an exact date yet, but coming very soon because we got to be ready by September. Now, of course, one of the things about doing this type of testing is that it's going to be more of people just kind of playing around with it and seeing if they can break it, because they're not going to be able to do UAD 3.6 reports until September. But we do want people to play around with it, see if they can break it. so that, we can be ready in September. But I'll tell you one thing, this thing is rock solid. It is not blown up on me yet when I've been showing it to people. So knock on wood there. If I come over here to open, I'm going to open up a single family residential scenario. This is kind of a test report that we made. So I can come over here, open up the subject property information. I don't have any photos in this, but this would be where the front view photo would be. I can open up the site information. And with Appraise-It Pro, you'll see up here at the top, these are all in tabs. So I can open a couple of tabs at one time, kind of like a web browser. I can even pull these tabs out like a web browser. So now I've got a free floating window with that particular page in it. And I can move that over to another monitor if I want. And then if I want to put it back in, just click, pop it back in, just like you would a web browser. And when you're done with it, you just close it. And I can open up as many of these as I want. Here's another version. Cost approach. Yes. Boom. There's your cost approach. But there's not a cost approach, so I'm going to say no. And there's not much to this. It's just going to be a small little section. And that's, the one other thing that we do like to show is our sales comparables. We have implemented side-by-side comps, just like a lot of programs out there. If I want to add another comparable, I just click on the button, boom, another comparable, click another button, there's another comparable. And if I scroll down here, I can see all the data about that particular. Now you see how this is kind of filling in right here? This is where we are in the process. We've finished all of most of the back end stuff, most of the front end stuff. We're doing a lot of optimization now. So graphical optimization, allowing it to use your graphics processing unit, your GPU, to speed things up and things like that. So we anticipate when you're not going to see things like this in the final version. This is still in a test version, and this is actually a test version that's about 2 months old. So I think that they've actually improved this already. So you can see where I kind of scroll up, it kind of fills in, but that will all be kind of instantaneous in the final version. Remington says we plan to have a beta version available in the early summer that people can sign up for. That's another thing. If you are interested in beta testing this for us, you don't necessarily have to be a customer. We offer our software free for 6 months as a 6-month trial. So what you can do is simply send an email to beta@sfrep.com, beta, B-E-T-A, at sfrep.com. You can get on the list. We'll contact you. We'll set you up for a 6-month trial, and you can play around with it. And that's the other thing that I definitely want to make clear. Let's go here. sfrep.com. If you come to our website, which is simply sfrep.com. So here it is right here. If you would like to try out Appraise-It Pro, once again, 6 months free. That is no strings attached. 6 months for free. All you got to do is come up here to our website, click on free demo, and it's going to then download Appraise-It Pro to your computer, save it to your desktop, run the install. When you first run the program, it's going to have you register, and boom, you're on your 6 months. You can also call us at this number right here, 800-523-0872, and our sales office can get you set up, kind of hold your hand, walk you through the process, and then get you over with our tech support, who can then, award-winning tech support, 5-star tech support, they can log into your computer with your permission and set everything up for you. So if you really like to have your hand held, if something like downloading the program and installing it, it's all new, if that kind of makes you a little bit nervous, they can help you out with that as well. Absolutely. And a couple of things that I like to highlight that make us different from certainly ACI and a la mode. Our software is billed month to month. Now you can pay a year in advance if you want, but you don't have to. And if I come back over here to our website, if you go down here to pricing, you'll see that we have 3 different tiers. We have silver, gold, and platinum. Our platinum is what I generally recommend for people coming over from ACI and a la mode. It's an all-in, gives you everything you're going to need, gives you 400 free flood maps. That's more than 1 per day, including holidays and weekends. So it's pretty much, we've never had somebody, I don't think, go over 400 in a year. So it's basically unlimited flood maps. We have a $69 one that will give you 200 flood maps. And then you can a la carte add the Inspect a Lot mobile app if you want. The Inspect a Lot mobile app we co-developed with Bradford Software. That is probably going to, I think that is going to go away with the new UAD. It's not going to be updated, but we're going to have a brand new mobile app that we're going to be launching that will fully support the new UAD, and it's going to have scan to sketch, which we're really excited about. The other thing to keep in mind is that the way that we license our software is very generous. We license it to the individual appraiser. What time is it? 8:55. We license it to the individual appraiser, to each signing appraiser. So if you have 5 employees, but only one person is an actual signing appraiser to an appraisal report, you only pay once. So you only pay that $99 fee or that $69 fee. We let you install it on as many computers as you want. You can have people that work with you and help you fill out appraisals. No extra charge for them. We do not charge extra for being in a network environment like some other software vendors do. We don't charge you for creating ENV files. And we also fully support Dropbox, like cloud storage solutions like Dropbox, Google Drive, OneDrive. All of those are fully supported by our tech support. They'll set it up for you at no charge. We don't charge anything extra for that. And we also fully support running our software, Appraise-It Pro, on a Mac. Now you have to have Parallels installed, but we support fully running our software on a Mac. And if you don't know what Parallels is, look it up. It's a cool piece of software that allows you to run your Windows programs side by side with your Mac OS programs. I think that's about it. Remington, how are we doing on questions here? I see a lot of activity going on over there.
There is one. I told Angela that I wanted to talk it out rather than try to type it there's a character limit. So Angela asked, am I understanding that we won't be able to import comps from current UAD to the new 3.6 version? How will Comp Manager work? That kind of thing. So that is not correct. You will be able to bring over stuff from your old reports, from your existing comp database, but the caveat is you probably won't be happy with how much you're able to bring over. And that's a function of if you have a Venn diagram where the left side is the old static reports, the UAD 2.6 paradigm, the 1004, the 1073, the 2055, and on the right-hand side, you have the new UAD 3.6, the dynamic URAR. It's a very small sliver of overlap in the middle because they're doing things like for example, the neighborhood section is completely gone in the new URAR. They don't care about that anymore. They have you define a market area instead. There are a lot of places throughout the report where in the current paradigm, you would be typing out a paragraph, but in the new paradigm, you're just going to be checking boxes. The sort of caveat to that is, well, if you try to import that data from an old report where it used to be a paragraph, we don't have a good way to check those boxes for you. And that's going to apply to comps as well. The comp grid is very different. It's some of the data points are the same. Anywhere the data points are the same, you can bring that stuff over. But at least to start out, you probably won't get a lot of overlap there. And that's just kind of, it is what it is. Yeah. And that's going to be true for all the software providers. There's just no way to reconcile the old paradigm and the new paradigm bringing data over. And then we had Frank is asking, what about canned comments? So we certainly will still support them. Excuse me. We call them common responses. If you click into any text field, you get you can save common things. And anywhere that those text fields are the same in the old report versus the new report, you'll have access to your old ones. Anywhere that's new, you'd want to write some new ones. It might not be the worst idea to revisit your canned comments anyway, if you've been relying on them for years and years, and it might be a good opportunity to do some kind of spring cleaning and make sure your text is up to date. And then we had a question, can you import data from MLS to comps page? Yes. We support that now. We'll support it with the new URAR. We have a couple different ways of going about that. We have a system called CompLink that can do that. We also integrate with a service called Profit.ai that does that very effectively. We think that's a really cool service. Can you still create templates and use it? Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
That's definitely one you'll want to check with all the vendors because it sounds like maybe not everybody will support that, at least not at first. But as far as we're concerned, absolutely. We think templates will be really powerful actually in the new URAR because you can do things like, well, if I'm always doing condos, I'll save a template of it with all the condo stuff already turned on and accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Or in particular, like that comp grid, the new dynamic comp grid has a ton of possible rows, and the emphasis on possible. Just because there is a row there doesn't mean you have to fill it out. You only need to use it if it's relevant to your opinion of value, if it's actually a way for you to compare your markets. And so it wouldn't be a bad idea maybe at the beginning to go through that comp grid and toggle on and off the rows you do and do not want, and then save that as a template. An easy example is one of the new rows is asking about are these properties on Native American lands, on reservations? If you don't live in a state or you're not licensed in a state or doing business in an area with Native American reservations where that's simply not a concern for you at all, you probably want to just turn that off and never see it. And so you could make sure that's toggled off and save a template with that toggled off. So yeah, definitely can create and use templates.
Yeah, and it's important to remember that the templates will be mostly just checking check boxes, pre-filling some stuff. It won't be building the structure of the report because once again, that's already there. The report sets itself. So
Right.
you won't be able to take a sketch out of there or add addition, like all that stuff is done by the report itself. So it's mostly just going to be pre-filling out stuff, adding your, I think in Missouri and North Carolina, you have to have your actual image of your seal on the report so you can put that stuff in there. And like Remington said, just checking check boxes and having it ready for you. So you can have a template that is already set up to be for manufactured home or for a condo or something like that.
Right.
Any other questions? Listen, everyone, if you have any additional questions, I want you to go ahead and send it to me. Now, you can send it to training@sfrep.com. You can also just send it to my direct email, which is simply Matt, M-A-T-T, @sfrep.com. And if you want to get set up have our tech support and our sales help you out with getting set up, you can send an email to sales@sfrep.com. They'll call you back and get everything going for you. Or you can always call them as well. That's going to be 800-644-4051. 800-644-4051. Our tech support is available 7 days a week. During the week, it is available from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 12 hours Eastern time. That covers the West Coast until 5 p.m. And then on the weekends, the hours vary. Do you know what it is off the top of your head, Remington?
Boy, I
think it's like
not. Let's see how fast
Yeah.
our website loads for me. On the weekends, Saturdays, we're open 10 to 7 Eastern, and Sundays 1:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern.
We do. Sometimes people ask us, do you do 24/7 tech support? We do not. We tried it and no one called. So we try to be available during the weekends. We are available during the weekends. And a lot of times we're available on holidays as well. We'll shift holidays around for our employees. So our tech support, one of the things I love about it, they're a really great group of people that do it. And often you will call them, and we don't do queues. So you don't have to sit on hold. If no one's available, we'll just kick you over to a voicemail, leave a message, and then they'll call you back. So you don't have to sit there, on hold. They will actually call you back. We also have chat support available, so you can chat in with them. One of the great things about chat support is one person can be on one phone call at a time, but a person can also be doing 3 chats and a phone call at the same time. So if you need to just get in touch with somebody, ask a pretty simple question, you can use that chat. And of course, we have email support as well. Let's see here. I don't think, I think that's most other places to allow you to add more maps, like airport sound maps. I believe, you can add as many maps as you want.
Yeah. One of the neat things about the new URAR is every single section of the report, basically, at the end of it is just here's an additional comments field. Mm-hmm. Here's a place where you can upload or you can include any photos or images like maps that is relevant there. There's a whole section for the market area that's got places for you to upload charts. And then at the very end of the report, we say that addenda are a thing of the past. There is a section at the very end of the report that will let you just dump in anything else. That sort of takes the place of the addenda. But it is, again, you shouldn't need much because they really have tried to give you a designated place for every little bit and piece you could possibly need. They want it to be a standardized format to cut down on your revisions, to cut down on you turning in a report and having your client go, well, where is this piece of information? I don't see it. You got to rewrite this for me. And you go, well, it's actually on page 15. No more of that. There's a spot. The report is dynamic, but everything's always in the same order. So if they know, well, I'm looking for this piece of data, it will always be in the same section before the same data and after the same data. So we really do think that in a lot of ways, this is going to make your lives honestly so much better. But yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, we've been at this for about a little over an hour. I want to just take a second. Thank all of you for showing up. We really appreciate it. I love talking with you guys. I love hearing the questions. Once again, matt@sfrep.com if you have any questions that you come up with later. And, once again, if you want to, you can go to our website, sfrep.com, of course, and you can install Appraise-It Pro on your own and start your 6 months of free trial, completely risk-free. When you get to the end of that 6 months, if you don't like it, we'll part ways, virtually shake hands, and you can go try somebody else. We think that's why we're giving it away for 6 months for free. We think you're really going to like it. And we're going to be continuing that 6-month demo period. As far as I know, we're going to keep on doing it, certainly through the launch of UAD 3.6. So feel free to try us out. Give us a try if you want to, maybe you're going to stick with Alamo, but you're maybe thinking about something different. Come over and try us. We will be glad to help you out. Our tech support can log into your computer with your permission, take care of everything for you, show you how it works. I can get on there with if you have a large office, we can all do a one-on-one session and show everybody how the software works. And also, if you want to, send an email now. Of course, they're closed at this point, but you can send an email to sales@sfrep.com. They'll give you a call tomorrow and start getting everything squared away for you. Matt@sfrep is my email address. And then once again, our telephone number, 800-644-4051. I promised that this would not be a giant commercial. I don't think it was. I let you know that all that stuff was going to be at the end. Whatever software you're using, I hope that you got something from this webinar. I want to thank Remington for taking time out of his evening to be here. Ernie, thank you for being here. Ernie's a big cheerleader of ours and is a wealth of knowledge. If you don't know who he is, follow him on Twitter and everywhere you can find him. He's a great source of knowledge in the industry. And I want to thank all of you for showing up. Thanks a lot. And I hope all of you have a wonderful rest of your evening. Thanks.